I was looking at recent releases in video games, and whenever the lineup gets especially bad, I always think back as to how much better the games we used to get were. These are your Pajama Sams, your Banjo-Kazooies, Hyperzone. But that doesn't mean games were better back then. As a matter of fact, there was a lot more crap on the market than there is today. The only reason we remember older games so fondly is because we tend to forget the bad games that we played in conjunction with them. This was something that I didn't truly realize until I decided to play Mystic Heroes again.
You've probably heard of Koei, and if you haven't, they make the Dynasty Warrior games, or for a more broader term, Musou games. An interesting fact about Dynasty Warriors is that it actually started out as a spin-off to a lesser-known RPG called Romance of the Three Kingdoms. The first Dynasty Warriors wasn't even a Musou game as we know them today, but a 3D fighting game much like Soul Calibur or Tekken. The Dynasty Warriors that we know and love is actually a spin-off of that, but due to silly Western localization, the first in the series was named Dynasty Warriors 2, and the name has stuck ever since. Well, it was such a hit that Koei said, "Forget whatever the hell we were pushing before. The kids love this true Musou stuff. Yo, Omega Force, get down to the office and make more post-Han Dynasty fanfiction. And get me more pictures of Spider-Man." And as Dynasty Warriors kept getting more and more popular, Koei started making all kinds of spin-offs, and in one particular area converted an entire franchise into another Musou-style extravaganza. Enter the tactical RPG Fangshengyanyi. Fangshiyingi. Holy shit, forget it. Koei decided to take Funky Shuck Enemy and rebuild it as a fighting action game called Mystic Heroes and put it out on the PS2 and GameCube in 2002. I mean, if it worked once, it can work again, right? Right?
It is time for our return. How can we escape this infernal cell?
Maybe if I stop talking into this tin can, I could come up with an idea.
There is a way out. Remember the legend of the Dragon Star.
Come for that device! I call upon the Dragon Star. Give to me your power. Make me invincible.
Make me invincible!
I would introduce you to the playable characters, but no one stands still long enough for us to get a good look at them. Seriously, this character selection screen is awful. Luckily, there's an overview of their stats in the corner of the screen, and since it's been a while, I'll take the most balanced character, Shiga. Whoa! Okay. Stop. Jeez, what was that, like 5 minutes? This just feels terrible. Mystic Heroes has a simple combat system. One button to attack, another to do a special attack, put those buttons in a combo to be a cool guy, and beat everyone up to become top bancho. Now, the major difference between the controls of Dynasty Warriors and Mystic Heroes is that Mystic Heroes controls like hot garbage on a muddy sidewalk. Every movement in this game is so sluggish and unnatural. Look at this dodge roll. Look how safe and choreographed that looks.
Okay, I'm going to dodge your attack. Yeah! Okay, I'm ready.
Your attacks are slow and none of your combos work on a consistent enough basis for you to grasp the appropriate inputs for the finisher you want to perform. Not like it matters anyway, since your attacks don't have enough range to pull any combos off in the first place. Enemies are going to constantly smack you in the back of the head or shoot at you with arrows from afar, and the enemies you are catching in a combo can just randomly break out of them and knock you down. It's one thing to get smacked around because you're surrounded. It's another to get smacked around by the same guy you're currently butchering to death. And those constant knockdowns lead to being surrounded by a ton of these guys, which leads to the problem of I can't fight my way out of this situation because my attacks don't chain fast enough for me to carve a path out. The worst part is, this is a problem acknowledged by the game and the people that worked on it. If you're ever in that situation, and that situation happens pretty often, your character will automatically perform their strongest attack, which is usually a screen clear or a very strong area of effect attack. But that's not a solution to that problem, it's a band-aid. No one should ever look at a scenario in which a player's control is being removed unintentionally and then think the solution is to remove even more of it. Well, Koei did, but the point of the previous sentence was to point out how stupid they are. And apparently the magic system is interesting and innovative, but it's not.
Oh man, I can do different kinds of spells by equipping different runes that change my combo finishers. I've never done that before in a Dynasty Warriors game by equipping different weapons. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Also, what is up with all the space? There's so much empty space not being used in this environment. Well, at least there's a boss fight at the end of this level, right? Oh, maybe that's what all the space is for. Oh, Bruin! That must be some important character to the series, right? Let me look this up real quick. Bruin is a Dutch word for bear. Because that's a bear. It's a Dutch bear in a Japanese game about Chinese mythology. Yeah, let's just go to the next level. Okay, next objective. Eradicate all enemies. I'm sorry, what? You want me to do what? You want me to fight and kill every foot soldier, every peon on screen. Koei, have you ever played one of your fighting action games? Are you aware that this isn't what I look forward to in this kind of game?
Now hold on a second. Mowing down enemies is what we want out of Musou games, but not as an objective.
Killing enemies is fun in Musou games, but when they're an obstacle to your goal. Think about the last Musou game you played and tell me if you actually went out of your way to kill every single foot soldier on the map. Rhetorical question, you didn't. Chances are you killed the ones in the way and dashed through the rest like a rampaging storm. It makes you feel powerful because these enemies are beneath you. You can swat them away like flies, and you ignore them because you have bigger fish to fry. I don't feel like an army commander when I'm delegated to fighting practice dummies. I feel like that army commander's understudy.
Thanks. Leave the scrubs for me.
And this is really the problem, isn't it? There is such a strong disconnect between what makes Musou games exciting and what Mystic Heroes is trying to tell me is exciting. It's about feeling unstoppable. In Mystic Heroes, you're slow and completely vulnerable. Your characters are supposed to be fierce and ambitious and constantly fighting stronger opponents. In Mystic Heroes, well...
Leave the scrubs for me.
Is there anything else to this mission at all? Okay, fair is fair. It's not a henchman, but it's exactly the same as the last mini-boss I fought. All you did was just change the character model and give him an extra attack that he rarely uses. See? It even blows up like the last one. Wow, and now there's a second one. How fast did they reuse that? Christ, they didn't even do the slightly less lazy version and put in the mini-boss from the last level. You know what? True to my namesake, I'm going to stay positive and move on to the next level. Although at this point, it's more borderline masochism than it is positivity.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Movie reference. Very dated movie reference. How about now? Is it scarier now? Why am I quoting Gina Davis? I bet no one watching this even knows who Gina Davis is. Wait a minute. Who's Gina Davis? Oh good, I can just fight the Rock. No, this game isn't that cool. And before you ask, it's from Hindu and Buddhist mythology, which means it makes sense for it to be here as India and China were close enough geographically to influence one another, and yada yada, Big Bird breathes fire. Out of my way, you useless pawns! Die, foul beast! Ha! It'll take more than that to... How am I even supposed to gauge that? Your dark magics cannot stop me! Prepare to be vanquished! Yep. Just fighting my first actual boss. Man, you know what would make this way more exciting? If I could see what I was doing! All you had to do was move the camera. It would have been super easy.
I'll do it right now. See? Now you can see more stuff than you could before. GC films in his parents' basement. Call the magazines. Nobody cares.
Do you remember what I said about Hello Kitty Roller Rescue being a game for kids that was simple but solid and overall well made? Well, judging from the art style of Mystic Heroes and looking at gameplay from its predecessor, I'm willing to bet that this was also intended for a younger audience. The problem is, I can't imagine a kid enjoying Mystic Heroes the same way I could them enjoying Roller Rescue. It's much too slow to keep their attention for very long, and nothing exciting happens in between levels. The characters all sound either disinterested or confused, and there's little to no energy being put into anything. I mean, if you wanted to keep a kid entertained, you would make things loud and colorful and fast, with a bunch of unnecessary jump cuts and familiar punchlines, and then use your annotations to link them to other videos and give them a call to action to leave comments and subscribe. I forgot what I was talking about. The point is, Mystic Heroes sucks. A game with empty space and repetitive action is boring, and a game without energy is lifeless, and a boring and lifeless game is not a good time.
So not everything I played as a kid was great, but that doesn't mean I didn't find a few hidden gems back in the day. In fact, there's a certain city building simulator that I spent weeks playing one summer, and it's not SimCity.